Hey everybody, welcome to the show. It's Ultra Game Bros, where we hang out and talk about games and stuff. And this is a very special episode because I have my good friend Jacob here.
Oh, I'm touched. I didn't realize that you had me in that high of a regard.
No, not really. But
okay.
I was just being nice on camera. Today we're just kind of hanging out. Jacob came over to the lair, and our topic that we wanted to discuss today with each other is nostalgia and what that means for us and kind of our experience with it and some stuff we like, and what better game to have on in the center of frame, Ocarina of Time.
Absolutely.
Which for me personally, when I think about nostalgia and like that cozy feeling, that warm, cozy feeling, this intro, this right here, it's everything. At least for us at our age. Because let's see, how old would we be when we were playing this? Like 8 years old or whatever?
Specifically for Ocarina of Time, the music is, I think, the most iconic part of it for me.
Yeah.
And even just this intro, super iconic.
Well, I think what we have available to us when we want to indulge ourselves is mostly the music.
Correct.
Luckily with this, even just looking at the title screen itself, it kind of activates some things in my brain, in my monkey brain. But like when we're sitting at work or we're doing whatever, like what do you know? I'm sure you do the same thing.
Absolutely.
I'll go on YouTube and I'll search up Donkey Kong Country 2 OST and just listen to the whole thing or whatever. So like music is such an easy way to get back to that point in your brain so that's why we're starting the show off with Ocarina of Time here, and I don't know how it is for you personally, but for me, Ocarina of Time is almost unmatched when it comes to nostalgia for me.
For sure. I'd have to say Ocarina of Time is probably one of my most nostalgic N64 games, besides obviously like, you know, your classics, Super Mario 64, right?
Of course.
Super Smash Bros, right?
Right.
Yoshi's Story.
And
very nostalgic.
Here's what I'll say about that. Most people, I think, will have the same relationship with Mario 64 that you or I would. Most people would have that, but not everybody would have that with Yoshi's Story.
Exactly. I will say that not everybody would have that same relationship with Mario 64 either. It kind of depends on what time of your life you played that.
Sure, yeah.
Because I think is a great example. My wife actually did not play Super Mario 64 until a little bit after we started dating. Yeah. And I remember introducing it to her, and she's watched her mom play it before, because like they played Nintendo 64 games on the Wii Virtual Console.
Oh no. But I mean, if that's all you got,
and that's how they were introduced to it.
That's what
and
you got.
Her big kind of, not gripe with the game, I should say, but one of the big reasons why she didn't like it was because of the fact that it didn't whenever you would go to a specific level, like even just like Bob-omb Battlefield, like the first star.
Yeah.
Because it didn't directly say, oh, you need to go to the top of that mountain.
Right.
And you got to throw King Bob-omb 3 times.
And you know what? Games nowadays are very much like
exactly.
text on screen. You'll be walking and then it'll
like
stop
Mario
and
Galaxy.
Then something will pop up. And it's like, just so you know, you can do this to do that. Like you just turn on that game and you can read signs or you can talk to Toads or Lakitu, but they're not
direct with you about it.
He'll tell you how to move the camera because that game invented 3D cameras for the most part. But it's not going to be like, hey, here's how you triple jump, and hey, you should go up here and do this or whatever, like collect stars to open doors. I mean, well, it might say something like that. But yeah, the games back then were not...
They didn't hold your hand.
Yeah, and not like Mario 64 is hard or anything, but I think that lends so much to the game feeling more freeing, and like you just turn it on and you start playing, and like the game isn't talking to you, you're just playing the game the way you want to play it. And I think that's just a lot harder. That's just a lot harder to do nowadays.
Yeah, whereas with like more modern 3D Mario games, besides obviously Super Mario Odyssey, because like that one kind of brought itself back to that innate feeling because of the fact that they didn't necessarily tell you where power moons were. You just kind of naturally found them.
Right.
I think what made that one a lot more accessible for people was the fact of just the sheer density.
There's a lot of them
power
motherfuckers.
moons.
There's a lot of them. I think it's like
Way out.
699 or something like that.
Something like that, and then the rest you buy from the stores. Yeah.
Well, no, I think the total number isn't $9.99. I don't think it is. I think the total number is something.
You could get up to $9.99 though, because that's when the balloon turns gold.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I did then.
But
because I did eventually do that, but I
Right.
didn't. Oh, I thought it was some weird number, or maybe I'm just thinking that it didn't go to 1,000. I don't know. Whatever
I never got to that point myself. I think I got up to like 700.
Well,
and
I'm
then
sure
I just
you
was
were
like,
like-
I'm good.
I'm sure you were like, I'm not looking anything up. I'm gonna try and find them all organically.
Genuinely, yeah.
Yes. So, and
Yeah.
I did too, but it did come to a point where it's like, dude, I talked to the parrot guy. He's given me a hint. I don't know. So at some point I did kind of have to go to the internet for some hints to get the last however many I needed, like 100 or whatever number I needed to complete it.
It's so funny you mentioned Mario Odyssey, because I remember, and I look back on Mario Odyssey now, and I'm nostalgic for that, of all things.
Well, I'm sure I don't know if there's a cutoff date for nostalgia.
This is true.
I suppose it's just kind of, it probably depends at what point in your life that.
And that's what
it
I was
came.
and that's actually what I was gonna get at, because Mario Odyssey came out. It would have been my senior. No, it was. It was my senior year of college, and that I think was when I was at like the lowest point of my kind of college age depression.
I think everybody gets some of that.
It
probably
was
not alone in
it was bad. It was bad. And I remember getting that game, and I got that at the midnight release. That was my first midnight release that I did, was Mario Odyssey. You remember, because I messaged you all on Snapchat when I finished it. Yeah, I marathoned that thing. I spent all-nighters and finished the game. And after, I would get to a point where I got like 3 or 4 worlds in, and I'm like, all right, it's like 4:30 in the morning. I have a philosophy paper due on Monday, and it's a Friday.
Yeah, but
I
who's
probably
gonna
should
get
go to
the
bed.
power moons? You can't write that paper. Somebody's got to get those moons.
That's true.
Yeah,
Writing
and-
about Apple's philosophy can wait.
Oh, real nice. I know you and I both had a similar reaction, and we've already talked about this to the ending of that game. But
Oh my god,
it
I
was-
cried.
yeah, I did too. And it's not like the ending. It's not like you die and the ending is sad. But there's something about the way it was presented and the way, for me personally, spoiler.
Spoiler.
You just getting to play as Bowser and save the princess as Bowser, and the music that's playing, and
The music, I think,
and it
was
all-
what did it for
yes,
me
and
the
it all
best.
crumbling around you. It was just such a monumental moment. It was one of those things where I didn't realize I was getting emotional until I had like a tear on my cheek, and it's like,
Genuinely, yeah.
yeah. So and then that's how you know that it like really, I don't know, like really did its job. I don't know if like Miyamoto and company were like intending like, oh yeah, and then when they play this part, they're all going to start crying like babies. But for me, it all comes back to Mario 64, where it's like, it all is just like,
It came together in the end.
yeah, not like there's narrative ties or anything, but just me thinking about, starting with Super Mario Brothers 3 for me personally, coming all the way to this moment, and it's like, now you play as Big Man. And
You're the big man.
right.
now.
So I don't know, it's just such a really seminal, awesome, great thing. Brought a tear to these fully grown adults.
Absolutely.
Fully
It
grown
actually
adults'
was
eyeballs.
it was the inspiration for me of, I then started actually compiling the list of games that made me cry.
Yeah, sure.
Because that was the first one that I really kind of realized, like, man, games is like an art medium, kind of have
They can do that.
they can do that. They have that profound effect on you. And it was after that point when I started noticing a little bit more and more that there were games that would make me cry. I think notable examples, obviously, Super Mario Odyssey, as we've already discussed. Yakuza 0. That game,
That's on you, man. I don't know that one.
that game made me just sob. It's so good. You need to play it at
Now,
some point.
it's that I find that strange to me because I don't know anything about those games other than they're
It's
like Shenmue, but
it's
really,
Japanese GTA.
yeah, they're Shenmue style and super goofy and really
Over the
comical.
top.
Yeah, so it's funny to hear that you're like, the game broke me.
So, I think what makes the Yakuza series so good is the fact that they have like a sense of balance between that, right? You have like these just gritty, dramatic, emotional moments that play out in the cutscenes, and then 5 minutes later, you're walking around the streets of Japan, getting into fights with street thugs, and then all of a sudden you use one of your special moves, which calls upon this old lady who throws you a leek, and then you just start pummeling these dudes.
I would cry if I saw that
leek. But just the story of those games is so good, and you wouldn't expect like a prequel to that series to be so good.
Do they have the same characters in between
so
games, or is it like the first 3 games had this guy and then the next?
To my knowledge, it's that 0 you play as both Kiryu and Majima, and then 1 through 5 and 6 you play as Kiryu through all those, and then 7 is where they do kind of like a soft reboot, because that's the one where they introduced RPG elements. That one you play as Ichigo, who's just a completely different character, but still kind of within the same crime family, so to speak. But no, they're very good games. Highly recommend. Cannot talk enough about them. Same with Persona 5, which is another game that makes me cry.
Persona would be an easier one, I think, to get into.
Absolutely.
Simply because even though the games are humongous and very long, I'm sure, with Yakuza, it's like, where do I even start?
Start with Yakuza 0.
That's what everybody says, but
and
it's
then
just
play
like
Yakuza Kiwami.
in my brain,
And then Yakuza
like,
Kiwami 2.
Right. Well, in my brain, it's
and then
like
the rest are numbered.
In my brain, it's like I gotta hit all of them, but it's like it's just so daunting. And they come with those motherfuckers every single year.
Yeah.
Every single year, there's now they're
all right.
back to
It's
like
either that. It's either that, or they make another Super Monkey Ball game that falls short of fan expectations. So I mean, tomato.
Are they the same devs?
They are made by the same devs.
Because I know they're both Bandai, right? Or not Bandai.
Sega.
Sega.
They're both
right.
Sega published, but yeah, they are made by the exact same devs. In Yakuza Kiwami, they even have like a big part of the Yakuza series is they have a lot of like side content.
I'm sure there's some Easter eggs and
there is. So you can go into Sega arcades, right? You gotta have that Sega product placement. Not only can you play like the classic Sega arcade games, which by the way, those run in like their own emulator that Sega developed in-house for it.
Yep.
But they have
cool like that.
they have those claw machine games. And I believe it was Yakuza Kiwami, because that one takes place in 2005 chronologically. They have Super Monkey Ball, like the monkeys, as claw machine prizes.
That's fun.
It's adorable.
I think the first game to make me shed a tear, probably The Last of Us, I think, which might be a generic answer, but I think at that time in 2013,
that was kind of when games started kind of going down a more gritty path.
The first HBO game. In the beginning, spoilers, when Joel's daughter dies.
I remember you were telling me about this.
It was the first time where it was like acting in a game. To voice actors' credits, sometimes it's not as realistic as that. And to give Neil Druckmann some credit, that game, I think to this day is still just rock solid. Rock solid.
Yeah. If the first Last of Us existed in its own bubble, they didn't go on to do anything else with it.
Yes.
Besides, like maybe the HBO show. I haven't watched it myself, but I've heard it's good.
Yeah, right.
They
had the
Last of Us
DLC
1
Left
was
Behind for the first game, Left Behind.
Yeah.
That's where you play as Ellie and her girlfriend.
Yeah, it's the prequel. Yeah.
Which is also cool and awesome. But rather than us just sitting here shitting on Last of Us Part 2.
I would love to.
You probably don't like it for different reasons that I don't like it. I thought it plays some of the best
I'll give credit
ever.
where it's due. Like the gameplay elements and the actual like engine mechanics are insane.
Yes.
Right? The rope physics
I think
are insane.
The story is mostly fine. The problem for me is that it's too freaking long, dude. And Ben often makes fun of me for this, but I play games he says like an E3 presenter, because when you're watching an E3 presentation and like they're just looking,
you're doing the fucking Wii Music shit.
Well, no, not like that. Like when they're playing a game on stage, and they're just like stop and they look at the environments. I actually do that when I play because I like to look at that stuff.
Okay, genuinely, if the environment is captivating enough, I've found myself doing that too. I did that a lot with Tears of the Kingdom in the shrines. Like I would have moments where I would just like look around.
Yeah,
and
it's like, isn't this cool to be in this game?
The opening Sky Island of Tears of the Kingdom, I was just awestruck the whole time.
Yeah,
so I feel that vibe. And then obviously, Minecraft, because that's the obvious answer.
But that game is designed for that sort of thing.
Absolutely.
All I'm saying is with The Last of Us 2, really, really long for me. And also, skip ahead if you haven't played Last of Us Part 2. But you get to the second half of the game where you play as another character, and you're playing as this character, and it's like, oh, I get what the game's trying to do. And then you finish that section, and then it's like, then a Majora's Mask style pops up. It's like day 2, and it's like, oh no, you're not gonna make me go through the whole. And you do. It's literally the halfway. It's actually before the halfway point of the game where you play as a second character, and it's like, I get it, Neil. I get it. Not every character is good and not every character is bad. I get it. And you got to play it for like 15 more hours in my case, as this, and it's just like, dude, I freaking get it. So anyway, that's my piece on Last of Us Part 2. But Last of Us, the first one, since we're focusing on nostalgia here, and that's kind of our thesis, we started with Ocarina, and I think that speaks for most people. That's a very cozy.
Oh, absolutely.
Cozy game. So
comfort food game, if you will. That was actually a point that I was going to bring up, was like, what would your kind of idea of like a comfort food game be?
This is definitely one of them where when I think about this, one of the memories I think of, or several memories, but I remember when at my parents' house sitting like on the couch and playing this game, like during like for like when I'm sitting here eating my Eggo waffles and like having the controller right here and eating and playing at the same time.
Little baby Ryan going, I like the Eggos.
I don't know if you ever did this, but like waking up early before school to play games. I don't know if you ever had that memory.
I wouldn't do that.
Well, I was
admittedly,
a naughty boy.
what I would do is I would stay up at night after my parents went to
Yes.
bed,
Oh.
and I would sneak and play Super Smash Bros. Melee.
Very
sometimes when I was grounded from video games, I would
cool.
do that. Sorry, Mom.
Now, here's what I'll say to that. Classic one. And can't be the only one. As a kid, it's nighttime. Go under the covers.
Ooh, the Game Boy under the pillow.
Pokemon under the cover. And this I recall with a with a Game Boy Color and a little worm light.
Yes, the worm light.
And it's like you're just doing your best. But as a kid, that's what it was.
That's what you had.
It's not like
exactly.
It's not like as a kid we were like, this sucks, because that's what it was as a kid.
Yeah.
That's what we had. Until, upgraded to GBASP or whatever. But yeah, that's what we had as a kid. So yeah, sneaking games under the covers or playing Ocarina before school. Those are very core memories. I also recall at my parents' old house being like 4, 5, 6 years old, sitting on the floor playing games in our old playroom, like, with our baby toys everywhere. And I don't have a ton of memories from that house, but for some reason, those are just baked into my brain of playing Donkey Kong 64 just on the floor and okay.
Cool.
Right. So I don't know what it is, but it's just like a cozy thing where it's like, let's say I got into an argument with one of my brothers or whatever, and then we stomp off, but then have a cozy little, which we didn't get in arguments, but I'm just giving an example of just having a mode to escape to, or something to kind of escape to. So I've been talking about my games that I like so much. So you, as little baby Jacob, first of all, I want to know where it started. And I sometimes ask this of my guests. Where
like the first game?
Yes. Where did it start? Why are you Mr. Gamerman,
Mr.
Jacob?
Gamerman.
Right. Today?
So
how did that all happen?
So I remember specifically one of my first earliest memories that had to do with like video games specifically. I remember the first 2 console games I ever owned or received as like 5-year-old Jacob was Super Mario 64, and then oddly enough, Harvest Moon 64.
Those are some banger first games.
Oh, for sure. And then you're gonna love this one. I have a memory of being at a Best Buy and my parents picking up for Melissa and I picking up Freddy Fish 3, The Case of the Stolen Conch
there
Shell.
you go.
And that's where my
There you
obsession
go.
with Humongous Entertainment started.
There you go. You know what I find interesting? I have all this to show for console games, but back when you played computer games or games on the computer, no, I had Putt Putt. I had Freddy Fish and the Stolen Conch. Who stole that fucking conch? Who took that?
It was always the narwhal for me. Always that narwhal.
Yeah, and it had that and had this game Dinosaur 3D. Carnivores, which that was later on, but those
You also had Haunted Hotel.
Right, Inherent Evil, Haunted Hotel Part 1 or whatever it's called.
PC game. I mean, mainly my PC games were just Humongous Entertainment games, and then like
Jump Start first grade.
Oh my god,
Jump Start first grade.
I remember I think it was kindergarten, first and second grade, and then Jumpstart Typing. Jumpstart Typing was such a good one, and the only things I remember from that wasn't like music or typing, because quite frankly, Melissa and I had my mom do all the typing tests for us to unlock the door to the coach, because we're like,
cheated.
we can't type that fast, we need help. And so my mom would be like, all right, stand aside.
Well,
Done.
Was it like a timed thing?
It was
you just had
timed, and you needed like a certain number of words per minute. I think like it went from 10 to 80 words a minute, and like we could do like the first 2 or 3 locks, and then after that was it. But what really stuck out to me the most with Jumpstart Typing were like some of the sound effects, because they used like the most common stock sound effects you'd ever think of. Like they had a snowboarding mini game where you had to type like a key sequence to have the snowboarder like go over the obstacles, and every time it'd be like that super fake sounding it'd be that.
And it's so funny too, because I think that's part of the fun though when you play Humongous games or whatever, or the Jumpstart games where you're just clicking on stuff in the environment just to hear the silly sound.
Again, I talked about that in my Pajama Sam video I made.
Oh my gosh,
over a year ago. Was my favorite clickable environments in Pajama Sam 2.
Link in the description below. Yeah, I think that's great. Okay, so you had Mario 64, Harvest Moon 64. Who gave you those? Was that a gift from your parents?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah.
I do know especially that, oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, it was a gift from my parents, because I think it was like my 4th or 5th birthday was when I got that orange Nintendo 64.
Oh yeah.
And then I remember having my parents hooked that thing up to a fraction of the size of the TV that we're sitting next to. I don't remember if it was black and white or in color. I think it was in color. It was the same TV that my mom would set up for my sister and I to put on channel 11 to watch Arthur while she would cut the grass.
PBS?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh.
Because we only had local TV.
Right.
At the
Okay.
time.
So Cartoon Network. You remember?
Yes.
47.
No, I had DirecTV, so it was $2.99.
Oh my. Okay, you rich kid with your rich kid DirecTV.
Hey man. When you live in the middle of nowhere.
Cartoon Network was 47. Local homies know. Nickelodeon was 46.
Only the local ones know.
Right. Was Disney 48 or was that in the 50s?
I got nothing.
I know that Cartoon Network was 46 and 47. So just slap in between those two, like when you hit a commercial in Dexter's Lab and just slap it down to Nickelodeon and slap it back up.
I loved Dexter's Laboratory. Like I was obsessed.
Yes.
With Dexter's
Laboratory. It's the imagination of.
Correct.
Go downstairs, bam, you got your own lab.
You have a TARDIS. You have the TARDIS lab.
I think
where it's bigger on the inside.
I think I think a dream of every boy at one point is like you want to have like a cave in your own house or something. Like
I had that dream too,
with like torches on the
Absolutely.
wall, and you're like, I mean, I know I had the dream like when I have my own house, I'm gonna have a dungeon or it's gonna be like a castle or whatever.
You've seen my old bedroom at my parents' house.
Yeah.
Do you remember that small closet that was off to the side of that?
Yes, dude.
Yeah.
Where you can like sneak into it. It's like your own secret lair.
When I was a small kid, I because again obsessed with Dexter's Laboratory. When I was a small kid,
great.
I was like obsessed with the idea of turning that into like a laboratory.
Yes, that's so
and
great.
then like of course because I was a small dumb kid, I was like, I'm just gonna imagine.
Now it was like a little mini door, right? It wasn't like a full size.
So
you
it was a half height door.
Yeah, so you had to like get
crouch under. Yeah.
That's so great. Well, is it because it was under stairs or like the arch of the
No,
roof
that
or
was
something?
part of the roof.
Yeah. So because okay, that's so crazy. Well, that's such a great thing to have. Okay, so Jacob,
Yes.
you grew up with your dial-up modem internet playing humongous entertainment.
Yep. Up until high school.
Right. So did you ever go on CartoonNetwork.com and play the Dexter's Lab game where you find the colored robots or
No,
whatever
because it would
hiding
take forever to load.
You
I
missed
remember.
out, man.
I
You
know.
would've
I
loved
know. Kelly plays. She still plays the Lilo and Stitch sandwich stacker Flash game.
Things like that are still live. I wonder if the
Yeah.
Cartoon Network stuff is still live.
No, they killed the original like Cartoon Network website, but I do know like
I'm sure
when-
somebody archived that or something.
Correct. When they killed Adobe Flash, wasn't
Yeah.
it like 2020 or something like that? It was something like that. They killed Adobe Flash like recently.
I think Flash got COVID. Is what happened, and then it died that way.
God.
I think so.
God, why? Rest in peace.
I think so. Right.
So when they killed Adobe Flash, there was a massive, massive effort to backlog and archive and preserve all those classic Flash games. And I'm pretty sure like Newgrounds was like the spearhead for that effort.
That's awesome. Those guys are cool.
Exactly.
Yeah, like heavygames.com
Miniclip.
or
You know what I'm nostalgic for too, speaking of Flash games? Sitting in resource hour in the library in high school, just sitting playing Happy Wheels on the school laptops.
My god. Yeah,
Because we
Happy
knew
Wheels.
the ones that were unlocked, so we're like, hell yeah.
What was the sledding one? What was that? Where you
God, what was it?
where you draw
Yeah.
uh
Oh God. Line Rider.
yes,
Line Rider.
yes. So
Yeah.
where you make humongous ridiculous.
People would make like legit works of art on it.
It's probably sounds comical nowadays where like browser games
Oh no, there are
probably-
still kids that play like Cookie Clicker and like all those browser games.
Oh.
Trust me.
Well, cookie that kind of makes me sad. But
Yeah.
I think it's just kind of comical where there was another game too called Adventure Quest that I'm very nostalgic for. This was just a browser based very simple RPG kind of game. Very rudimentary. They once had a crossover with Mythbusters though. But yeah, like you do quests and it's all Flash based, I think, or maybe it was a different type of thingy, but you didn't download it, so it was all browser based. Everything looked like it was made in MS Paint, and it was probably made by a team of like 5 people. But it eventually got a spin-off and an MMO, funny enough, and I was like, Mom, can you please give me a credit card so I can pay $20 to be a paladin?
Club Penguin was
Yes.
a prime one for that too. 'Cause
Did that have like cash
it
things
did.
too?
It had a membership plan, which I'm pretty sure I had my mom pay for like they did like a 3-month plan. I'm pretty sure my mom paid for it for one set of 3 months. And I think the only real benefit to being a member was the fact that like you could have multiple player houses and then you could buy like different
Wow.
colors of the little Puffle pets.
Motherfucker, you should have been on Toontown with me.
All right. Speaking of Toontown, so that was my first instance of realizing that my internet was terrible.
Oh no.
Because they had ads for you knew the ads for Toontown all the time on like on the Disney Channel and that.
Oh, sure.
And I remember like my sister and I tried for hours to get into Toontown. Like we even
That's so
we
funny.
downloaded like the actual launcher for it. And it would just stall out. It would
That's so
not
funny.
let you in, even
to-
on dial-up, which was crazy.
I was half joking. I didn't really play Toontown a whole lot, but that is funny. My question is, Jacob, what does like nostalgia mean to you? Like, why do you go to it, or what what triggers it for you? Because
Music.
luckily for me, I didn't have a traumatic childhood or anything like that. So it's not like I don't have like a sorry story where it's like I used it to escape or whatever like that. I don't have anything like that. It's actually quite the opposite, where
it makes you think of a happy memory.
Right.
Yeah.
I cherish that all so much. So my grandma, she would, when she would come and visit, because she's out of state, she would sometimes come and visit, and she would bring her Super Nintendo with her. And we didn't have one. We eventually got one, but I think she might have left it with us, and then she ended up just buying a new one because they were probably still selling them at the time that N64 was out, like clearance or whatever the case may be. And her just visiting, and she's just the greatest person of all time. So just seeing her was always super special. But when she would visit and she would bring that, and we'd play Super Mario World, and we'd play Mario Paint, and we would play Donkey Kong Country and Donkey Kong Country 2. That just meant so much to me. So thinking back to those super happy, awesome memories, I just cherish that a lot. And Super Mario Kart 2 is actually the original Super Mario Kart. And then growing up a little more, having the N64, which I think our generation, we would identify as N64 kids. I think we would technically be in that category. Yeah, of course, banger titles like Mario 64 and Super Smash Brothers, Mario Kart 64. Welcome to Mario Kart. All that stuff. It's just super cozy feeling. So for me, luckily we both have retro games, so it's easy for us to just fire it up and jump right into it, or just listen to the music and get there. I think the music, of course, is the biggest one. But even just like with Ocarina, just like looking at this title screen,
I can already hear the music in my head.
I know it, and you can hear Epona's
Monty Python style.
Right. So yeah, for me, it just means a whole lot. What is your number one, where you're like, number one coziest nostalgic game? What is your humongous biggest one? And is it going to blow my mind?
Now, I have to ask this clarifying question. Does it have to be a Nintendo game?
Well, no, of course not.
Okay.
You can say Freddy Fish.
Awesome. No,
Pajama
actually.
Sam?
So, Pajama Sam 2 is very nostalgic for me. But I think the most nostalgic one is going to be Kingdom Hearts 2 for me.
Oh,
which
yeah.
you had
Of
to
course.
have known at
Of
this
course.
point. I mean, I've also sent you that before, where like if I'm having a bad day, I know I can just boot up Kingdom Hearts 2. Even just the opening scenes with Roxas, it just does it.
Yeah. Now
I'm feeling emotional right now. talking about it,
when you think about that and you think of like Dearly Beloved on the title screen, where are you in your brain when you think about that? Like, where does it take you anywhere specifically?
I wouldn't say it necessarily takes me anywhere, but it more just kind of soothes me in a way.
Where you feel like Kingdom Hearts 2 is like just a buddy that you've always grown up with or whatever.
Yes, it's like a friend I've always grown up with, or like kind of like a warm blanket
Yeah.
on like a rainy day type of vibe. I feel that way with Pajama Sam 2, but that one's more of like this is like a super quick, kind of like, I think the best way to compare it is like eating like a meal, right? Like Pajama Sam 2 for me is like that, like you just drive through McDonald's, get that real quick fix, like 5 minutes and you're done, because I can speed run that game in like 5 minutes.
And you can speed run the McDonald's drive-through too.
Exactly.
Give me that. What do you get at McDonald's? What is your?
I get the double cheeseburger and fries, because it's better than the quarter pounder in my opinion, and it won't kill you.
Well, you heard it here first, folks. Okay, so yeah, Kingdom Hearts 2.
But yeah, Kingdom Hearts 2 is like an actual like home cooked meal it feels like that way to me, where there's a lot more substance to it versus Pajama Sam 2. Not to say that Pajama Sam 2 doesn't have substance in it, but I know that game like the back of my hand, to where like I know exactly all the things I need to do. Same kind of with Kingdom Hearts 2, but at least with Kingdom Hearts 2, you can take your time with it a little bit more. You can really kind of sit and enjoy it.
Yeah, I can totally understand that. Yeah, that's a fantastic answer. And let's see, Kingdom Hearts 2 was 2000.
Now, real quick,
3 maybe
2005 was Kingdom Hearts 2.
5? Wow.
I think 4 or 5.
I think you're right.
Yeah,
I think you're right.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's surprising that
I know
that it came out that late. Now, here's what I'm getting to. You're 9 years old when you're playing that. Yeah.
No, actually, I picked up the Kingdom Hearts series in junior high school, so about 7th grade. So I was around like 12 at this point.
Yeah.
And oddly enough, that's actually how I met your wife, was through
What? How dare you? How dare you say her name, which you didn't even say.
That was how I met your wife, was through just
great.
Being a fan of the series in junior high school, because like all of her friends on the crew she hung around with, I somehow got absorbed into that, and then Kingdom Hearts became the thing.
I think that's a great thing that you were like, I've identified one of my own. That's fantastic. Well, so Kingdom Hearts, that must be your favorite game then.
It is my favorite game of all time.
What do you like about that game, Jacob?
Oh God, Where do I even start? Well, besides obviously the feeling that it gives me, like the nostalgia,
Right, and it's very simple in how
and
it's
clean.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, okay, that was pretty good. It's very simple in how it's like darkness bad and lightness good. Ignoring all of the convoluted nonsense. Let's not even get into that. So
we could get into it.
my point being, it's a very approachable game where it's just like, here are the good guys, and it's all Disney happy fun time and whatever. And it sometimes gets a little dour and spooky, but for the most part, it's a very approachable concept. So for you as a little 12-year-old Jacob, or whatever, it's very simple for you to...
Oh, God, cringe.
No, it's very simple for you to get into a narrative concept like that and feel like you're friends with the characters and just kind of feel like cozy, and you can nestle in and just listen to the music and fart around and kill guys and get money and all that, all that good stuff.
Gotta get that money to go to the beach trip.
Beach trip?
That was in Kingdom Hearts 2. That was during the opening sequence. They had to get money. One of the days was you do chores to get money to then go to the beach.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And then spoilers, Riku steals your money.
Oh my lord. Did you first try probably not first try, but did you in Kingdom Hearts 1 beat Riku in the
the Riku 2 fight? Fuck no.
No. When in the very
Fuck
beginning,
no.
when you're on Destiny Islands or
whatever.
When
yeah,
it's like,
no.
race me and you can name the thing.
No.
Okay, well here's my question.
I've never been able to actually.
Yeah, it's impossible.
Yeah.
So here's the deal.
So actually, fun fact. So in order to win the race with Riku, because that happens on day 2 of Destiny Islands, you would have had to fight Riku on day 1. They have it coded in the game to where if you do not fight Riku on day 1, he is next to impossible to win the race on day 2.
Day 1, day 2. What do you mean?
Yeah. So
I'm forgetting. My memory on that is foggy.
Day 1 of Destiny Islands was getting the supplies for the raft. So that was like the 2 logs, the rope, the cloth. And then that's where you run into...
Who's living... What's going on there that kids are just running around, their parents are nowhere to be seen, and they're building rafts to leave and escape?
I mean, you do hear Sora's mom off screen.
Do they live in the jungle? What's going on?
No, so...
Do you have tree houses?
No. Well, they do on that island, but in Kingdom Hearts 2, they show cutscenes where it's Kairi and Selphie in the beginning part of
There's a character named Selphie?
Yeah, from Final Fantasy.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is that Final Fantasy 8?
Yes.
Well,
yes, I believe so.
Okay. Well, my knowledge
because
starts
Titus and
Waka
were Final Fantasy X, and they had them in the game because it had just come out. So they're like, "Oh, we got to cross over with Final Fantasy better."
Of course.
But no, in Kingdom Hearts 2, they have scenes with Kairi and Selphie, and they're walking home from school, and there's like a larger island that has like traditional homes and things like that. And then you look off.
So
at one point, Kairi's just like, "I remember Riku, but there was that other boy." And then Kairi looks off into the horizon and she sees like the island from the first game. So it was literally just like an island offshore that the kids would row boats to and play at.
Man, it would be so interesting if they
that's
actually
also where the keyhole is.
Explained any of that stuff. That'd
Yeah,
be
I
cool.
know.
So, okay.
You just got to watch 1,000,001 Kingdom Hearts theories videos.
Right, and then you can understand a video game that came out 20 years ago.
Speaking of Kingdom Hearts, did you hear that Kingdom Hearts Missing Link got delayed?
What is that?
No one knows. Literally, no one knows any plot element.
It's a new game?
It is.
Is that Kingdom Hearts 4?
No, it's not Kingdom Hearts 4.
Game?
It is a cell phone game that was going to be, at least from what the community knows, is that it was going to be the bridge between Union Cross and then the beginnings of like Birth by Sleep and that.
I see.
So it was going to cover...
Was Union Cross another phone game?
Yes.
Okay.
Union Cross takes place like ages before Birth by Sleep does, and that actually covers the Keyblade War. Anyway, we're not going to get too far into the lore.
My father fought in the Keyblade Wars? What?
God, that's so good. No, but so Missing Link was, again, the missing link between the story of the foretellers and then the events of the Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep through Kingdom Hearts 3.
Is the internet consensus on that going to be similar to that of like the Phantom Pain, which when they were marketing that, they were like, all your questions answered, everything, all the links and all your whatever, and Phantom Pain comes out, and then it's like, oh, okay, which is cool game or whatever, but it's like when they were like, oh, this is gonna tie everything. It doesn't.
No, okay, so
and they didn't finish it. So.
Exactly. We're pretty much, at least what a lot of people are saying is that everyone's at the point now with the Kingdom Hearts universe where we're just kind of sitting back and just letting what happens.
You poor guys have just not caught a break. So it's just some of
us have just kind of given up.
Yeah, you're just on the floor now, and you're just like, whatever.
And honestly, I'm kind of glad that they delayed it, because like the actual gameplay of it was gonna be like this fusion of the old Union Cross style gameplay, where it was like, oh, you have an enemy in front of you, and you have like attacks that you can do with medals, and now it's like trophies from like Smash Melee, right? It's like Smash Melee style trophies that you buy with real money.
Ooh, real
monetization.
Yay, money.
But then the map itself is Pokemon Go style. So they mixed Pokemon Go.
Wait, it's like you actually walk around and do things?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. And then you'll walk around. You'll be walking down the street, and oh, there's a Heartless there. I'm gonna fight it with my Mickey Mouse trophy.
Now with my woo.
So say, fellas.
So
someone mentioned the door to darkness.
That does sound familiar. Did they show quote unquote gameplay?
They did, and it looked awful. They even had a playtest in Australia, like
really?
A couple months. Yeah, they had a playtest in Australia a couple months back, and people were like, yeah, it's okay. Like the reaction was pretty lukewarm, and then we've had no news about it since. So it was kind of expected that it was going to be delayed, especially because we're near the end of the year, and they said it was going to come out this year, and nothing. So I'm really not that upset about it. So I'm just kind of looking forward to see where they go with Kingdom Hearts 4. That's kind of where my eggs in the basket are.
Well, I think most people would agree with that. I think most people are like, yeah, okay, the phone game, whatever, but really they just want to play
I want to see
again.
Sora in real life. I really do, because that's what Kingdom Hearts 4 is.
Yeah.
He is in the real world. He is here.
Wait, here?
In reality.
Wait. Kingdom Hearts is in the Matrix?
It's actually in a world called Quadratum, which is known as
Jacob,
unreality.
we got to stop this now. We're done.
We are getting very off topic.
No, we cannot go there.
We're getting way off topic. I apologize.
We cannot go there.
You got me on a Kingdom Hearts train, and I just kept going, buddy.
When you telling me that Kingdom Hearts is the Matrix, I just can't. Okay.
And Donald and Goofy are trying to talk with Hades to figure out where the hell Sora went.
What is going on?
God, that's a really good Goofy impression. We gotta get the medallion, Sora.
Remember when Goofy fucking dies?
Yes. Also, that's the other thing. There are people on Twitter that are still playing Kingdom Hearts for the first time. Like, there would be people just randomly tweeting about how they're playing through Kingdom Hearts. And whenever people would play Kingdom Hearts 2 and they would be in the second visit to Hollow Bastion, everyone's just like, oh boy, here it comes. I want to see how you react to Goofy just beefing it.
Well, he's dead for like
5 minutes.
Yeah.
All right, genuinely though, when that first happened, when I was first playing Kingdom Hearts 2, I thought he died. Because again, right after you see him get hit with the rock and go into the wall, it shows a menu that says the departing member has surrendered their equipment.
Right.
So it implies, hey, Goofy's dead.
much like the Phantom Pain again, where Quiet is in your party, then she's no longer in your party.
Mm-hmm. I did not do that mission where she dies.
Because I don't think she dies.
She leaves.
She just goes bye-bye.
Yeah, I did not do that mission because of the fact she leaves.
The game auto-saved. I can't. It's so sad.
Oh, no,
she's just like Quiet from the Phantom Pain and Goofy. They're one and the same.
Oh God, I can imagine the weird Pokemon fusion style art.
Start
of
the
that.
fan art of that now. So let's start it up.
Goofy
now.
with just huge.
No. Okay.
I'm done.
No.
Sorry, you told me not. Wait. You told me not to get weird.
Okay. So Kingdom Hearts 2. What else? What else is there for you? What are your other comfort stuff? Now, I mean, we share a lot of the same library of classic titles. So, yeah, like what on the N64?
Ooh.
Like what is the best N64 game for you?
Besides, obviously, Ocarina of Time. Because
well, is that your answer? But besides that,
it pretty much is my answer. I think. If I had to order them, Ocarina of Time, Super Smash Bros, Super Mario 64, Dr. Mario 64.
Wow. Not a lot of people.
And then
would
Pokemon Stadium 2 would be my top 5.
Sure. Not a lot of people would say Dr. Mario, but that's a good one right there.
Dr. Mario was great.
That's a good one.
It's a good game.
Ocarina, I long time ago watched a video. Do you recall Youngtown?
Yes.
He has an excellent video on Ocarina and like what it means to him and it's so wonderful seeing other people's retrospectives on this game specifically, because I think it pushed all those buttons for a lot of 8 to 15-year-olds when it came out, which is or in our case 3-year-olds or 2-year-olds,
3-year-old babies.
But of course we played it when we were just goo goo gaga 5-6 years old. And he explains that he really just goes into excellent detail about the game, and this is partly I think why we subconsciously love it too, which is Link has his struggles and then he becomes an adult and he has a different perspective on the world, and it's a game that's literally about growing up.
Exactly.
Which I just think is so beautiful and fantastic, and it's great. All of that within
the ending of Ocarina of Time is messed up. Where at the end, spoilers, Zelda sends you back to being a kid, but you have all the memories of being an adult and experiencing that version of Hyrule.
I do think that's okay. I do like that, simply because
it gave him the second chance to live his life as a kid that was stolen from him. But
but now he has the
PTSD of it.
Well, I don't think he had that experience. I think he was still cool Link. He was super fine with it all. He's not going to be suffering about it. I think that is cool because he kind of had a little Freaky Friday scenario, if you know what I mean, where he's just like a grown up for a little bit.
It's like a big man.
Yeah, and then
big
he goes
man
back
in a
to
little coat.
Goes back to
big
or
man.
actually 13 going on 30. I think would be a better analogy for that one.
Yeah.
But no, I love it. I love everything about it. Another cohort of ours, Logan, is one of the proponents saying like, "Oh, it's okay, but it's still crusty and it's outclassed."
I fail to understand.
It's
that.
outclassed by Twilight Princess.
Yeah, I mean,
I just don't think so.
No.
And here's why I'll say that: this game in 1998
blew everyone's mind.
Is insane.
Correct. It has not aged a day.
And the reason why I think that's important to address is because if this came out today, maybe there wouldn't be a whole lot to say about it.
Of course.
It'd be like, well, whatever. But it came out in 1998, bro, which is crazy. And that's think insane. About the graphical leap from 1988 to 1998 is nuts. And if you were to say the same thing from 2014 to 2024,
yeah, exactly.
Not really.
Now, did you know that this was originally going to be on the 64 disc drive?
I believe it. Yeah, I believe that.
And then when that horrendously failed, they were like, oh no, let's just make the cartridges bigger. And that's why we have the bigger sized N64 cartridges.
What do you mean the bigger size? You mean bigger like
bigger
storage
ROM
size? Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, I totally believe that. But yeah, it's just like this game coming out at that time is freaking crazy. I think 1988. Let's see what came out in 1988. I
98,
think
you mean?
No, 1988.
88. Okay.
I think Zelda 2 maybe came out in 88, and now in 98 you've got
3D.
It's 3D. So it's just I don't think people give us old gamers enough credit because we really did experience so much. I mean, I suppose for some people that didn't necessarily grow up with, like, I grew up with every Nintendo console basically, so I kind of played older games too, so I was able to really see like, wow. But like kids nowadays are missing out on that, where like in 2014 what came out in 2014? Like Dark Souls 2 Scholar of the First Sin, I think, came out. No, that was 2015. But like games like that, or Alien Isolation is an awesome one that came out in 2014. And if you were to look back at that, you'd be like, okay, yeah, still looks like it still looks like games nowadays. But like if you were to look back 10 years from 2000 and look at a game from 1990, it'd be night and day. So kids nowadays are really missing out on
And I
so
think
much of that.
I think a big problem with that is the fact that we've kind of hit almost like a plateau with graphical fidelity to where like
agree.
and of course that's where the industry is going. It's like we got to tighten up the graphics on level 5. We got to keep tightening up those graphics. And like we've hit a point where it looks like real life. There's not much else you can do.
Well,
and I think we're gonna hit a point
not
eventually
very many
where
big things they can do. Like they can still do DLSS and ray tracing and crazy stuff like that. But as far as like,
which fun fact, I don't notice any difference with those on or off. I really don't. I fail to. That's why I don't really care for the PS5 Pro reveal, because I was like, oh, cool, they made the floor a little bit shinier in this one shot from Hogwarts Legacy. I was like, I don't care. I think the old style looks better.
Well, I don't think the PS5 Pro is for people that necessarily
already own a PS5.
I don't know. That's a tough call. That console is a tough call, to be
honest.
honest.
That console is an instant no for me.
Well, I mean, I will admit
I can justify so many more things I could spend $700.
Well, they almost got me with the 25th or 30th. No,
okay.
30. Is it 30? Oh my
it's
God,
the 30.
Holy crap!
I almost bought the controller for that though, because the controller looked so.
What the Elite one or whatever it's called?
Yeah,
dude.
That one looked really nice.
I know. Well, maybe you can just like get like some D-brand skins or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah, you can get a skin.
Yeah,
for
dude. That console though, the PS5 Pro.
It's a tough sell.
Yeah, but at least the 30th anniversary, I was looking pretty good. Because I'm a. We've only talked about Nintendo mostly for this, but like original PS1, super nostalgic for me. And this is gonna sound hilarious, but my some of my oldest memories on the PS1 is a PS1 demo disc, which had it had Tomba on it, and it had Blasto, but we were basically just rocking the first level of Tomba over and over again. So that game, very nostalgic. But the other two that I remember really growing up with, that we played a lot of Frogger as well.
Yes.
Was
classic.
Croc and Bubsy 3D, both of which and yes, we'll talk about that, but both of those games are often regarded as two of the worst examples for how to control a 3D camera.
This is true.
Right. And we were just talking about Mario 64, but those games too, less so Bubsy 3D, but those games were there at my early age of being like, oh my God, this is crazy and whatever. And I don't think I ever got past like level 2 or whatever in Bubsy 3D because it controls so stupidly and whatever. But
I played Bubsy 3D as an April Fool's joke one time. And it was so bad. I couldn't even get past the first level. I couldn't even get past like one of the hills. I'm like, what the?
I think it's left and right on the D-pad control the camera, and then you jump forward, but like,
and then when you jump, it like tilts you down. You're like,
yes. Okay. Oh my gosh, yeah,
you're
like totally
that.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. As a kid, it's just one of those things that tickles my idiot gamer brain. But Croc in the remaster coming out, that's super exciting, and they say that they tightened up the camera controls.
They did. They also got rid of tank. They have it as a toggleable option where you can do either tank controls for traditional or like more modern controls. But to the point of Croc, I played that on PC. That was where I experienced Croc from the Scholastic book orders.
Did you get like a disc in the mail, or you got delivered to school?
It was the Scholastic. Oh, it was Scholastic book orders. It was the one time my mom ordered something from the book orders.
I very seldom got books. I did occasionally, but most of the time it was all like the kid spy gear.
Yes, and Naked Jakey has a video on that. But anyway, back to Croc. I played Croc on PC for like ages, and I didn't know that it came out on PlayStation for like a couple of years. And I recently rooted my PS3 because again that console's been functionally dead for years at this point.
How dare you?
hey man, keep games alive. And I played Croc on the PlayStation on it, and actually it controls a lot better on PlayStation than it does on PC.
That is,
and I had a gamepad on PC, so it wasn't as bad, but it was still horrible.
That is often the case with a lot of stuff of that era. Newer game, Battlefront 2, the 2005 one, when that came out, most people played it on PS2 or Xbox later on, but it also had a PC release, and it controls, unless you use a mouse and keyboard, if you play the built-in gamepad control, it's really bad. It's just one of those things where back then they didn't map the cameras very well.
And you know what?
Right,
that's a porting issue.
Yeah, for the most part. It's also a skill issue.
And that's true too, because you give me a mouse and keyboard, I could probably get pretty close to your level in Halo.
I mentioned it earlier, but one of my giganto nostalgic games is Donkey Kong Country 2.
I was literally, at one point, I had as an idea, I was going to do a thing where it's like, let's guess each other's favorite nostalgic game.
Oh.
And I had you as Donkey Kong Country 2, because when I was playing through that, I remember you and I had their discussion about that.
There's just something about, and I think
the music was still very nostalgic.
And I think it's one of those where it's made that way on purpose.
Correct.
Is that Grant Kirkhope that did that?
Maybe.
No,
he did.
Rare. He did like the N64 ones.
Yeah.
I don't remember his name, but if he did or not, but they purposely, like, you can't listen to Aquatic Ambience and not think they had other intentions with that song. It's not like if it was just to be like a silly little,
they were on.
Right, if it was supposed to be like a silly little swim in water level or whatever, but they wanted you to feel a little bit more when you're playing that game. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think it's not an accident that it feels that way, or at least for me. It's not an accident because it's intrinsically tied to the design of the game to feel that way, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Now here's another question for you. We've talked a lot about nostalgia in games. Do you feel like you're nostalgic for any game in particular that, like, back you think about your memories with that game and you're like, man, this game is like pivotal to me, and then you go back to play it again more recently and you realize, wow, this game fucking sucks. Do you have any of those kinds of examples? Because I can think of one and I would love to talk about my experience.
Well, in a minute. I don't think so, but in relation to that, I do have a backlogged list of games that I once called my favorite game. So as I played them, it's like, this game is my favorite game or whatever. So the only one that I can think of that doesn't live up to what I once thought of it, and this is going to sound insane, but let me explain, is Mario Paint. Let me explain. Where as a kid I was like, this is my favorite game. It just can't be my favorite game anymore. Simply because
of how simple it is. Yeah.
Right. But that's part of why I love it so much.
True.
And it is just a rudimentary paint and fly swatter game, which kicks ass, or the music maker.
Yes.
Or you can also make animations, but I don't think any kid at the time was smart enough to make animation on it. I definitely wasn't doing that. No. I was like, whenever I got in that screen, I was like, how do I get out of here? Because I'm so confused. I don't know what I'm doing.
Get me out of here.
So that's what I would say to that. Where when my grandma would bring that game over, I'd be like, this is my favorite game. But like nowadays, I'm like, no, but it still means as much to me. But I would not say it's, mega stinky. Like what you're asking though.
I mean, I wouldn't say mine is like ultra stinky either. It's just that, like, actually going through it fully again, it made me realize, wow, this game's not as great as the parts that I do remember, I was like, this game's great.
Lay it on me.
Do you want to say it on 3? Because I think you know what I'm going to say.
Oh, no.
Yes. All right. 1, 2, 3.
Glover. Oh,
exactly.
That's so sad. You're breaking my heart.
All right. So let me explain.
Not that I have any attachment to that game, but you were Glover man. You'd come with your Glover
I love
gloves.
To glove. What can I say?
You'd have your Glover hat on, your Glover pennant, and you'd be like, guys,
I wish I had a Glover hat, dude.
A little spinner hat,
Seriously.
too. St. Glover is the best.
I wish I had a Glover
hat. Okay, now what the heck's going on?
All right, so
you're hurting. This hurts, mommy.
As a not dumb kid, as a tiny baby man, I could only do like the first 3 out of, how many levels does Glover have? I think 5 or 6. I could only do the first 3 of like 5 worlds in Glover, because I would get stuck by the Pirate World boss, which was a set of 3 orangutans, and one of them was swinging from a tree, and that was the one you needed to damage and kill.
Kill him.
You needed to flatten that man. The problem was the other 2 monkeys would grab your ball and go, whoo, and throw it in the ocean.
This is getting expletive, but continue.
You can cut that out, right? Please, I don't want to be framed as something different. But anyway, so I would only get past the first 3 levels, and then I would hit the wall. So then recently, like last year, that's not recent, but I decided, all right, I've talked enough about Glover. I want to sit down and beat it.
Well, before then, when was the last time that you played it before replaying it here?
Oh God, like at least 8 to 10 years.
Yeah,
it's been a while.
Okay. And when you played it back then, 8 to 10 years ago, at that point,
I would still hit that wall. Yeah.
Okay.
I would hit that wall, and I'm like, oh.
And it was still cozy for you. Like, well, you know what? I can't beat it, but I still love this game.
So you know what's funny? I'm only really cozy for Atlantis, which is the first world, because Carnival is awful. Carnival sucks. The second world Carnival, the level design is garbage.
You know the Glover devs are listening to this right now. And
that's okay. I want them to know.
Oh my lord! Who developed that?
Hasbro.
Really?
Yes.
What? Hasbro.
Yeah, Hasbro.
Oh.
Carnival, the level design is terrible. AVGN did a video on Glover like a couple months ago, and I was watching that. I watched that video religiously because I was like, I gotta know, does James agree with me? And you know what? He did. And I felt really good about that.
Vindicated.
Vindication, exactly. No, but I'm extremely nostalgic for the first world, Atlantis, and then the music of the pirate world, because that one is super like upbeat and cheery. But that is where my nostalgia for Glover ends completely.
Well, does it end because of your experience with it, or that it ends because that's all you ever, that's as far as you got? Or nowadays, that's where it ends.
It ended because that was as far as I got.
Okay,
and then
so that's all you knew.
That was all.
That
exactly.
was Glover to you.
That was what Glover was to me. Was all of Atlantis, which just made me happy, and then like the little bits that I was able to get past that point, and then going back and playing it from the beginning too. I played it from the start, just to re-experience it again, and then I was like, oh, I'm gonna keep going, and then I remember I got to the monkeys again, and I was like, you know what?
Monkeys, dude.
It's like, you know what? I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna finally beat these monkeys. And I looked up a video guide on what the boss fight was. I watched a boss fight video, and I was like, wow, I was doing this exact thing, and it was not working. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna try it again, and I finally did it after I think like 1 or 2 tries. And then I played through the other 2 or 3 worlds, which was prehistoric, and then there was like a haunted castle one, and then space.
Glover Goes to Space?
Glover Goes to Space. That's the final world, and that's where you fight Cross-Stitch at the end in a giant mecha battle that is not great.
Has somebody ever tied in, like, Master Hand, Crazy Hand with Glover? Like, that has to exist somewhere, right?
I don't know if it does, but I would not put it past the internet to have done that.
Maybe that's just my idiot brain. That's where I
No, I agree with you on that.
Idiot game
I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Thank you.
But anyway, the world that fully broke me was prehistoric, because there is a volcano level. I hated that level. That level broke me, where I just kind of sat there looking at the screen, and I'm like, this level is garbage.
My question for you is,
this whole game is garbage.
Now, here's my question for you. Does this revelation that this childhood game of yours is actually big stinky doo-doo, or mild stinky doo-doo, somewhat,
some level of terrible?
Yes. How does that make you feel? Is that like you feel like betrayed in a way, or you feel a little heartbroken, or is it more like you didn't have that close of an attachment with it and you're like, meh, I'm okay?
So I look at it more of my nostalgia. Like I said, my nostalgia with Glover ends at a point, right? When I look back and I think about Glover, I think about the first world, right. Atlantis, because that where was the game. Most nostalgic. That was the game to me. And then obviously the clown boss fight at the end of Carnival, where you crush him with a piano. That was fun. But yeah, like, because my nostalgia ends at a certain point, and that's all I knew of Glover, that's all I associate with Glover. And then the rest of that experience I now have as like, oh, okay, well, that game was whatever. So like I've kind of learned to almost separate my nostalgia,
and that's a weird
and the
feeling,
rose
isn't it?
tint of Glover versus what the rest of the experience.
That's
was.
A weird thing too, because when you revisit certain games, that you haven't for years, you have this image of it in your brain.
Correct.
And then when you do it, you're like, oh, that's what that is, or that's what that was supposed to be.
Or it's like, oh God, I don't remember it being this crusty.
Yes. So nostalgia is a very
powerful thing.
It very much is. It's weird. There must be some chemical thing that's occurring in your noggin, in our goopy goblin gamer brains, where we see something or we hear something and we're just like, me like that. I like that. I want to see it.
Me like your breadsticks.
Yeah,
like your breadsticks.
Right. And I think it's a great, awesome thing. And I think that's a beautiful place to stop.
Yeah, absolutely.
Your Glover
my Glover betrayal. Nostalgia has betrayed me.
Right, but games that we love that still hold up and that we can still go back to, like Ocarina or Mario 64
absolutely.
or Smash on the N64.
Yoshi's Story.
A Yoshi's Story, yeah. Oh, let me just swing it in.
Yeah.
That is one where I remembered playing it as a kid, watching you replay that, I was like, this game kind of stinks.
And I remember you telling me that,
I'm
and
sorry.
I was like blown away by that.
I just watching you play, I was like, oh, that's how this game is. And then you're explaining to me like, oh yeah, you can collect the fruit, and if you get this amount, then this happens, and if this happens, oh yeah, you
There's
only
30
get
melons in the level. You got to get all 30 melons.
Yes, and then you get to play the third level or something, and if you don't collect, then you just skip
the
it.
hearts, all the hearts you got to find.
That blew my mind, and which I think is a decent system. But man, dude,
you had to replay that game at least 4 times.
That's criminal.
To unlock all of the levels.
And at that point, do you want to be playing Yoshi's Story 4 times in a row?
No, only play Jelly Pipe and only play Jungle Fever, because those 2 levels have a banger soundtrack, and that's all that matters.
Jacob gets Jungle Fever when he touches Jelly Pipe, so that's a good time to stop. So, Jacob, thank you.
Why did you do this to me?
Thank you for coming on, and I'm sure we'll have a similar conversation very soon. Thanks for hanging out with us. We'll see you next time. Later.
Absolutely.